This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
Alright, I have spent almost a full month, 4 weeks in Hong Kong and Macau, and in today's video I'm going to answer your questions about my time and my experience. So I have the questions all here on my phone. Thanks for sending in so many questions. The first question is, why did you choose Hong Kong and Macau to travel? So first of all, the past years I spent a lot of time traveling in Southeast Asia. I also been to South Asia and I have never been to East Asia before. So actually I was kind of curious to see East Asia. So there are quite a few countries that are really interesting. And by the time I was deciding to go there, Hong Kong and Macau were very easily to travel to. So there was no visa required for me. I could just show up, get a visa on arrival. And that, of course, made my decision a bit easier, less stressful, if I don't have to worry about getting a visa or getting PCR tests, COVID tests. So that was the first reason why I decided, okay, let's go to Hong Kong and Macau. And the second reason was actually I was very curious to try authentic Cantonese food. Actually, while I have been in the Philippines last year, where I spent 4 months, I was introduced to a lot of Cantonese food. And that made me curious to try the authentic Cantonese food over there in Hong Kong as well. So yeah, curiosity for the food and overall keen to also visit East Asia. Was my first time in East Asia, but definitely not my last time. Then the next question, what's your biggest regret or things you haven't tried during your trip in Hong Kong? I think looking back at the time now, I should have went more into the mountains, going on proper hiking tours or even visiting some islands. Like some of you in the comment section recommended me some islands that I can travel to, probably just a day trip with a boat or something, or going more into the mountains. So I think that is the number one thing on my list for the next time when I will return to Hong Kong, checking out the mountains as well as some nearby islands. And then, do you think there are some differences between Southeast Asia and Hong Kong or Macau? If so, what do you think makes the difference? It's hard to generalize Southeast Asia as a whole because I think even within Southeast Asia there are many different countries. For example, the Philippines are totally different compared to Thailand or Malaysia. So it's a little bit hard to generalize, but overall that was my impression now after a couple of weeks in Hong Kong and Macau. I feel the people are more reserved. Maybe it's like part of their culture being reserved, but they are not loud in public. People are straightforward. Everything is very organized. That was also a big difference compared to many Southeast Asian countries. For example, the traffic. If you have a look at the traffic in cities like Bangkok, Manila, Ho Chi Minh City, it can be a little bit chaotic sometimes. And in Hong Kong and Macau, everything was way more organized. So also more efficient. For example, I remember when I arrived at the airport, it was quick, easy, get a stamp in your passport, there you go. Very efficient, very easy, straightforward, reserved people, which I like, by the way. I'm also more of a reserved type of guy. So I really liked the people, the reservedness. So these are the biggest differences between Southeast Asia and Hong Kong and Macau. But yeah, keep in mind, you can't really generalize, and these are just my experiences. And then I want to know, what actually do you think about Hong Kong from a visitor's perspective? And what's the difference between Hong Kong you imagined and what you actually saw? So actually, I was surprised a lot. I think I mentioned that also in at least one or two videos. To be honest, before I came to Hong Kong, I really just thought Hong Kong is just one big city, this concrete jungle, and it was really surprising for me to see that there is so much more around it. Like you have mountain areas, you have rural areas, little villages, beaches, islands. There's so much more to Hong Kong than just this one city, and that really surprised me. So before I made my plans to go to Hong Kong, before I did some research, I really didn't know about all of this, and that really surprised me a lot. And then the second part of his question, what do I think about Hong Kong from a visitor's perspective? And overall, I can really say that Hong Kong surprised me in a very positive way, and I really liked the organizing aspects. It's very organized, it's clean. That is also talking about differences again. Hong Kong is way cleaner compared to some parts of Southeast Asia. So that was really, really nice to see for me. It felt almost like a city in the West. If I compare Hong Kong now to a city in the West, for example, I'm from Germany, it was closer to being as a city in the West as cities in Southeast Asia are, if that makes sense. And then the next one, I would like to know why and how did Hong Kong attract you so much and your perspective as being a tourist? Will you consider Hong Kong as your base and develop your career here? The first part of the question, I think I answered that pretty much already. The reasons why I wanted to come to Hong Kong. And then the second part, will you consider Hong Kong as your base? I actually thought about this aspect before. I can totally see myself living in Hong Kong. Like, I fell in love with this city very quickly for the reasons I already mentioned. Just at the moment, I'm not looking to have a base. Like, I want to keep traveling this year. But my thoughts are maybe at the beginning of next year, I'm actually thinking about having a base somewhere for at least a few months, but not this year. And then Hong Kong actually is on my list of potential cities where I could see myself having a base for at least a few months. In case you're wondering, what are the other cities? Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, BGC, Philippines, and also Hong Kong now. The only downside about Hong Kong, and that is actually a big downside, and I think I will also talk about that in another question. The biggest downside about Hong Kong is the costs. So especially the costs for accommodation, like getting a hotel, or I've checked apartments on Airbnb. It's way, way higher compared to apartments or hotels in the cities I mentioned before, like Bangkok, KL, BGC. For example, in the city center of Bangkok, I can get a really decent Airbnb or a hotel for a month with a pool, with a gym, with city center, convenient location, restaurants all around for $500 a month. Definitely the same in Kuala Lumpur, the same in the Philippines. And in Hong Kong, I found some Airbnbs, but they are all like $1,200, $1,500, and then many of them have no pool, have no gym. So you pay more and you get less actually. So that is a big downside for me to Hong Kong. But if the money isn't a problem, like for example, let's say I'm earning 10 times more money in a year than I do now. So if the money wouldn't be an issue, then Hong Kong would definitely be high on my list as a potential base as well. And something that I was doing in the past weeks in my free time was building a new website for my media kit. And if you also require a professional website, whether it's for your personal usage or for your business, I have a recommendation for you, Squarespace. On Squarespace, you can easily set up a professional looking website literally within a few hours, even if you don't have any knowledge about building websites or coding websites. I, for example, have no knowledge about all of this, and even I was able to set up the website for my media kit literally within a few hours. Squarespace has really easy drag and drop menus. It's very easy to figure your way around. You can connect your social media accounts on Squarespace. You can monetize the website easily, for example, with membership areas. You can, of course, include your own pictures or videos. You can make the website look the way you like to, and you can choose out of many, many professionally designed looking templates. If you want to check it out as well, go to squarespace.com to start a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/canabroad to get 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. And then many people would say Hong Kong is one of the most international cities in Asia or even globally. What are your thoughts on this statement? And then the rest is not part of the question anymore. Actually, my impression was that it's not that international. Like, to be honest, I have seen only very few other Westerners there. I think I saw other Asian tourists. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell if a person in Hong Kong is from Hong Kong or if the person is from mainland China, for example. But regarding Western tourists, I saw very, very few only. And I think in Macau, I saw none at all. I don't remember seeing any Westerners in Macau. But in Hong Kong, I saw some Westerners, especially in central Hong Kong, as well as down south in Stanley. But I think that the Westerners that I saw there were people living there, so expats, which of course makes the city international. But overall, I don't think, or that was my impression at least, I don't had the impression that Hong Kong is that international. But maybe that is also because, maybe because of COVID still, that there weren't that many tourists overall. So maybe it was different before COVID. I'm not sure if you are from Hong Kong. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. How many Western tourists did you see pre-pandemic in Hong Kong? And what are your thoughts now? But I do think that there is a big Western expat community living in Hong Kong. And then a question that I actually got a few times. Can you tell us how you planned and found different interesting sites in Hong Kong? Are those your sponsors helping you? And regarding the research, so no, I didn't get any help from any sponsors regarding that. My sponsors are not telling me what to film or where to go. They are not part in that. I actually have a person doing research for me. So I'm paying someone to do research for me whenever I go to a new country or to a new city. And that actually helps me a lot. And of course, before I was paying someone to do research for me, I also did it on my own. And what I usually do is, so first of all, I don't like to do research about everything. I also like the feeling of just arriving in a new country and everything is new and you have to figure out your way after your arrival. I know that many people travel different. Many people, for example, I remember when I released my first video from Hong Kong where I arrived at the airport in Hong Kong and I was very clueless how to even go to the city center, if I can take the MRT or a taxi or if there are buses. I had no idea because these are the things that I usually don't like to research before. So there were some people in the comment section asking why don't you do your research before? You can have figured it out all before coming to Hong Kong. But that's just how I like it sometimes, to arrive in a new place without everything being researched. But of course, there are also things that I do research before. For example, what food is there to try? Which places are the must-see places? Where are local markets? Which area is the best to stay in a hotel or Airbnb? Must-see attractions. What is there to do? Can you do hiking? Can you go on boat trips? Diving, beaches, all of these. So I do some general research about that. And usually I just start on Google. I think that's where you can get the most information. So I'm Googling things, I'm reading different forums, travel forums, blog posts. Then I also go to YouTube, have a look at what has been being posted or filmed on YouTube, other travel channels that have been to the country before. Sometimes, or some channels are just travel guides, top 10 places to visit in Hong Kong, something like that. And then, I figure out my way out of all this information, make a list for myself, what is interesting. But in this case for Hong Kong, big thanks to my researcher. She did an amazing job finding out many hidden gems, like the snake restaurant, the dim sum restaurant. And that's how I found those places. And then, would you mind sharing the pros and cons of traveling / visiting / living in Hong Kong? The pros, first of all, the food is amazing. I would even go so far. I will talk about the food more detail in a later question. I don't want to give it away now, but the food is definitely a pro. Then for me, the people, reserved people, straightforward, very organized, clean. Yeah, these are and yeah, of course, the variety of things to do. Like you live in Hong Kong, within 1 hour you can be somewhere in the mountains, you can be on a beach, you can travel over to Macau, spend a fun weekend over there. So there's so much to do in and around Hong Kong. And then the cons, yeah, definitely the higher costs. So the cost of living in Hong Kong are definitely way higher compared to Southeast Asia. So that is a big con for me. And then can I think of another con? I actually don't think so at the moment. Another pro is the public transportation. It was very, very easy to travel to every corner in Hong Kong and the outside areas with public transportation. The bus, the subway, very, very convenient and inexpensive. But yeah, overall, so another con, I don't think I can think of another con now other than the prices. And then a question, you are very adventurous even when it comes to eating. Have you ever gotten sick from eating local foods, especially street food? You don't seem to be too affected. Could you share some of your stories and what was your worst experience? So I've been traveling around Asia for 3.5 years now, and so far, luckily, I never had a major food poisoning. So I never had to go to see a doctor or to the hospital, or there was never a case where I was stuck in my bed for several days with high fever, stomach pain. So that luckily never happened. I remember one time though that was at the beginning of my Philippine journey where I had a little food poisoning. Like my stomach felt really bad, I had stomach pain, but it wasn't like major food poisoning where I was really like with high fever, I had to go to see a doctor. So that was not the case. And then yes, sometimes it happens that my stomach gets a little bit upset, and then maybe I'm better to stay in the hotel for a day or maybe 2 days because I have to visit the bathroom a lot of times. But yeah, these are just minor issues, I would call it. So never had any major problems. What I can tell, like my experiences from eating street food is I choose the places where I eat carefully. So for example, if you see a street food place and there are many locals and the restaurant is very busy, like preparing one order after the other, that is always a very good sign. So the meat, especially the meat, gets cooked fresh in front of you. That's even the best case. You can see that they are cooking it fresh. So then it's usually not a problem. But of course, if you go to like street food stalls and they sell like meat that has been lying around probably in the sun for hours and they don't cook it fresh for you, maybe just putting it on the grill for a minute just to heat it up. These are usually places that I avoid. But yeah, overall, no major issues. And also, speaking about Hong Kong now, yeah, like I said before, my impression was that the places in Hong Kong are overall very, very clean. So I didn't have any issues with the food in Hong Kong or Macau. And then a question that actually also was asked a lot. Will you be planning a trip to China, to mainland China? And yes, 100%, I am very, very curious to visit mainland China as well. By now, they are actually issuing tourist visas again. So I will have a look at it. I heard it's not that easy to get a tourist visa for mainland China. It's actually one of the few countries where I, with a German passport, have to apply to get a visa. Like most of the countries around the world, I can just show up and get a visa on arrival. But for China, I actually have to apply for a visa. But yeah, I will have a look at it. And I'm very, very keen to visit mainland China. I think it's a huge country with many, many different places to visit, mega cities. I'm very curious to visit Shanghai, Beijing, maybe even Shenzhen, which is basically right next to Hong Kong, and so many other cities that I probably have never heard of, but they have like 10 million people living there. And what also is very intriguing for me is to see the real China. I think China is a country that is mostly negatively portrayed in Western media. So I'm very curious to see the real China. How is it really there? Is it like the Western media is showing us? Which, by the way, I don't think it is. I think it's very different compared to how we see China in Western medias. But yeah, I'm very curious to find out by myself. So I am definitely going to mainland China. I'm just not sure when that will happen. Like maybe later this year or at the beginning of next year. These are my thoughts now, but 100% mainland China on my channel will happen. And then a funny question actually, has anyone in Macau or Hong Kong assumed you were half Asian? No, never. Do I look half Asian? Actually, technically I am half Asian. My father is actually from Turkey, so my mom is German and my father was born in Turkey, and he was born in East Turkey, which technically is belonging to Asia. So I don't know, does this make me a half Asian? And then a question, will you be going to Taiwan soon? And yeah, Taiwan is also on my list. Actually, funny thing is, a few times while I was in Hong Kong, I was actually eating Taiwanese food off camera. I never filmed eating Taiwanese food. But I had some Taiwanese food and it was very, very, very delicious as well. So I'm also very curious to visit Taiwan. I think it's an interesting island. I could imagine renting a motorbike there and driving around the whole island. So also definitely a country I want to visit. I'm just not sure when that will happen. Maybe later this year, or maybe I will combine it with a visit to mainland China. Either later this year or beginning of next year. Then another question, what is your plan for when you go to mainland China? So yeah, I would like to see some of these huge mega cities like Shanghai. I would like to see Beijing, the Great Wall of China, and then yeah, maybe some other mega cities. But I would also like to see rural China. The rural areas, visiting little villages. I really like to do that in every country that I visit. And seeing rural China, that would be very, very interesting. I think they also have some beautiful, stunning mountain areas, which would be great to visit. So China is huge and there's a lot to see. And then I think let's come to the food. What was your favorite food in Hong Kong? And that question I got asked a lot. And overall, the food has been awesome in Hong Kong. And I would even go as far as saying that the Cantonese food or the food in Hong Kong is my favorite now out of all of Asia. I really, really love the food. I didn't have a single bad food experience in Hong Kong or Macau. So really amazing. And I think my favorite food was char siu. Funny thing is, that was the first thing I ate in Hong Kong. Maybe you remember the first video. On the first evening I had char siu, but I had it many times afterwards as well. So char siu was very, very delicious. And then, why did you wear a mask in Hong Kong and Macau when mask mandate was finished already? Simple answer to that, because the locals were still wearing a mask. When I am somewhere in a new country and I see that 90% of the locals are still wearing a mask, I am doing the same because I just think it's respectful to do what the locals do. And that was the case in Hong Kong and Macau. 90% of the locals were still wearing the mask, so I was doing the same. And then, what did you do in Hong Kong while you were not recording? And well, that is probably a very boring answer now, but most of the times I am not filming, I am sitting in a hotel room, editing videos, doing behind the scenes work, posting on my Instagram, posting on TikTok, answering emails, doing research, planning the next trips, booking hotels, finding out where I can go film tomorrow, stuff like that. So there's actually a lot of work behind all these videos that you never get to see in the videos. It's not like I'm going out 1, 2, 3 hours, film a video, and then the rest of the day is a holiday for me. My trips are usually far away from being holiday trips because I'm traveling to film YouTube videos. And yeah, so the boring answer is most of the times I was not filming, I was sitting in a hotel room. But actually what I sometimes do off camera is, and I really enjoy that in every new country, every new city, just going on a walk. Just having a walk around the neighborhood, around my hotel, eating some food here and there. And I often do that off camera. So that is something that I was doing in Hong Kong a lot as well, in Macau also. just having on a walk, going on a walk, getting impressions, just seeing the everyday normal life. I really like to do that in every new country. And then also a question that was asked a lot, about the prices. Do you feel Hong Kong is expensive? And as I said before, Hong Kong is definitely more expensive than Southeast Asia, but still more affordable than Western countries. So I would say, like, if you're watching this and you're coming from a Western country, Germany, USA, England, Australia, it is not as expensive as it is in your home country, in the Western world, but it is more expensive than in Southeast Asia. So to give you some numbers, for hotels, I spend on average 60 to 70 US dollar per night for a hotel that was outside the city center, no pool, no breakfast included. And for local food, if you go to a local restaurant, usually the meals would be around, I would say, like 5 to 6 US dollar. So overall, my impression was everything is about double the price as it is in Southeast Asia. That maybe gives you a rough estimate. And then, will you visit Hong Kong again? Would you like to travel to Macau again? Definitely, 100%. I'm very keen to return to both places, Macau as well as Hong Kong. Especially Hong Kong, I would like to see more mountains. I would like to see some islands maybe. I would like to spend more time maybe around the Mong Kok area, which was, I think, my favorite part of Hong Kong City. The Mong Kok area was very, very nice. I think I showed that in my the second video, my first day in Hong Kong. That was where I briefly showed the Mong Kok area. And so definitely 100% I will return to Macau as well as to Hong Kong. And if you watched the video all the way to the end, a little sneak peek for you. I am by now in a new country already, which you can see right here. And the new country series will start in the next episode. It is a very interesting, exciting country here. I have a lot of interesting and fun videos coming from here. Thanks for all your kind comments on the Hong Kong series. Really, really appreciate that. And if you haven't seen the whole playlist of my Hong Kong and Macau videos, you can find it right here. Stay healthy, stay positive, and then see you on the next episode. Ciao, guys.